Hello, my name is Elfigi Grande, and today I figured I would give a reading of Latin's lecture on roleplay map making. The reason I decided to do this is because I have done a pretty good job recording all of the other lectures that have been presented so far within the NS Roleplay Symposium of 2020, or at least I've tried my best. And I figured I might do this one a good service by helping spread the word. So, I'll be reading Latin's lecture as if I were him, and then I'll make sure to take a good look at some of his maps, and yeah, let's get this started. Hello, I am Latin, from the region of Ajax. Last year I spoke to you about 2Wiki and roleplay. Tonight I will be speaking about maps, and the role they play in roleplay, and things to keep in mind as you develop your own maps. To start, I'll lead with a little about myself and my experiences with cartography. I first began making maps on nation-states roughly 6 or 7 years ago, many of which were very basic and, to put it politely, poor quality. I began working off of tutorials I found in various places, and gradually crafted my own styles and methods. I have served as cartographer of 2 regions, first in Ixnay from 2015 to 2016, followed by Ajax since 2017, where I am currently the cartographer. At one point, I considered including my own map-making tutorial as part, or the whole, of this lecture. However, I felt that it would be a disservice to do so when I can simply link to a few tutorials that I found useful in the earlier days of my map making below. Maps tell a story. First off, maps are excellent at grounding your story or setting and assisting in immersion. Think about it at a basic level. You're reading a story, and the same place names keep appearing. When I see this, I immediately wonder where these locations are relative to the characters and how it fits into the story itself, whether cities, provinces, or landmarks. Similar to my lecture from last year, I consider maps one of the best supplements to roleplay and aids to grounding a story. Maps can tell you about culture, geography, and landscape, and even politics. Going beyond the aspect of informing the reader in a simple visual where the story is taking place, maps can also tell a story all by themselves. Simply put, maps tell a story the same way any picture would. In this case, that story is of the nation or entity, and the right map can assist in the development of any idea, whether regional or national, or even city. For example, the map just attached below is of a nation I roleplay in my region. Now, from simply reading the labels on the map, a few things are apparent. 1. The nation is a kingdom, and maintains a sizable domain for the king or queen, simply from the royal domain. We also see that, in a way, the territories or administrative areas maintain some of the feudatory relationships at various levels, with princes, dukes, and counts below the monarch, and other lords below them, holding authority over some lesser territory. In a way, the right map can provide key insight into a nation before you ever read a word about it. Let's take a closer look at this map. Oh, I just love maps. Look at this. The incredible detail that he used in drawing all of these provinces. I really like the dots for cities. Think about the care to detail, the attention to detail that he did to make the border with the sea just like a slightly different shade. It's just very elegantly done. Another key example is war. Yes, for those with an interest in war roleplay, there is a major opportunity to utilize maps as a valuable tool. There are many ways to demonstrate this, whether basic troop movements or, for those far advanced in the topical specifics than myself, markers to demonstrate the type and number of combatants in any one location and their movements. I think this is actually a historical map rather than one he drew himself. But it demonstrates the point well, that this can serve to illustrate what happened without having to read any of the historical texts. This one is the more detailed variety that he's showing. Different sort of troop blocks, types of unit, whether it be infantry or tank, or mechanized unit, aircraft. Wow. See, I just love maps. Things to keep in mind. Now, if you're already in a region that has a map, that's a great start because you already know the canvas you have available. But if you don't, that's no problem either. Either way, your first step is the same. You'll need tools. For me, these are the programs I use for maps, but I have seen people hand draw maps with great success. I primarily use two programs, GIMP and Affinity Designer. GIMP is a free, basic raster graphics editor. Think of it as a scaled down, poor man's version of Photoshop. Did I mention it was free? There's also Paint.net, though I've never used it myself. My go-to lately, and a far more recent addition to my arsenal, is Affinity Designer. Designer is a vector graphics editor similar to Adobe Illustrator, though at a lower cost. It primarily works in vector, but has raster capabilities. A free alternative to Designer or Illustrator is Inkscape. However, if you're running an older computer, be sure to save frequently, as Inkscape has a history of crashing in my experience. To briefly touch on the difference between raster and vector, a raster graphic is one in which the image becomes more and more pixelated or unclear the more you zoom in, whereas a vector graphic is one that does not have that issue and is almost infinitely scalable. All of the maps I have posted here are raster graphics. However, many of them were created as vector graphics. This is my preferred format, as I can get into finer detail on the map, and it enables me to export the map into .svg, allowing another user to view it in their vector program in the same way I do, or as a raster graphic such as a .png, or ping. Many vector graphic programs enable exporting into a variety of other formats. However, .svg and .png are the most used by myself. As a note, when exporting a vector to .png, or ping as I always say, you are often able to export to whatever size file your computer can handle. This is where you can dive into great detail on any given map. Before you begin making your map, you need to set a goal, i.e., administrative district divisions, road network, major cities, or all of the above thrown into one map, or maybe just drawing continents as a whole. Note, a key thing to remember with any map is to utilize the layer function. While I do the overwhelming majority of my map making in Designer, I almost always start in GIMP. I find it easier to working out a general shape in here due to the simplistic nature of the program and tools at your disposal. This is why I always advise individuals to begin in a program such as GIMP when they have an interest in map making. It is much easier to correct mistakes, such as drawing over them with a pencil or clearing them with an eraser tool. This is in clear contrast to a vector program, where you are working with nodes and paths, and a simpler eraser won't correct a minor fix. However, vector programs allow for far greater detail with your projects. One last piece of advice I would like to impart is to not be afraid to change your map. The 3 maps below are a good example in the development of a living, changing map. Ask anyone in my region, and they'll probably say that I loathe altering key aspects of the map, but sometimes changes are key. The first map is the Ajax regional map, just before I assumed the role of cartographer. As you can see, it was far more compact and less extravagant. The second is a more recent map from October. And below that is a vector map exported into a raster format. However, it remains a work in progress. Some of these changes have been based purely to fix aesthetics, but others have been to make room for areas of the map that see the most new member applicants or interest.